I welcome you to this media briefing. It is a part of the People's Alliance development as a party that is intent on bringing change to Fiji and giving our suffering nation a new start. I and we as a party honor the news industry and those who work for it for your role as guardians of our democracy. The free flow of information and exchange of ideas and thinking is so essential for this system of government, and it cannot happen without a free press. I must add here that democracy is very much threatened in Fiji at the moment, and some even claim that it does not exist. There is something else that I must say. In 1987, some of you may remember, when I was leader of the post-coup government, we imposed news and newspaper and media censorship. I feel remorse for that, but I feel just as much as I feel remorse for the 1987. But most of you will probably understand that when we start something like rearing our own children at home, there are certain things we allow them to do and certain other things that we do not allow them to do. That was the same. At that time, we needed to establish ourselves as the new administration in post-coup Fiji. You can take it from me now that the Rabuka then is gone. The Rabuka of 1987 is no more. He has been remade as the man before you today and saying to you these things. I've been a Democrat for a long time. My belief in press freedom is integral to my political ideals. The People's Alliance, under my leadership, will be open and responsive to the media. We have not yet properly organized our media cell, our media liaison arrangements in the party, but we will. We will expect them to be in place over the next few weeks, and we will keep you informed of those developments. But for now, do not hesitate to call me or email me with your questions and other issues of the moment. I will try to give a response as promptly as I can, and some of you can vouch for that. You have sent me emailed questions for the following, for the issue coming out 48 hours later, and I have met your requirements. I should mention that I am cautious about phone interviews. There are a lot of things that can go wrong and creep in when you try and interpret what I say over the phone, particularly when we translate the interviews into the other languages in our media. I'm up for one-on-one interviews at our office or at home, preferably with you noticing prior notice of the subject matter you want to interview me on. We will organize full media briefings when we have something important to announce and important issues in the land. Our party denounces the government's anti-media agenda, especially towards those that it perceives to be against it. And you know who I'm referring to. You will have noticed that the Prime Minister rarely, if ever, submits himself directly to media questions. You can work out for yourselves why that is so. It is embarrassing for all of us in Fiji to have our Prime Minister on the global stage referring to his iPad with pre-arranged and pre-written answers for questions that did not come. Despite assistance costing millions of dollars from an international public affairs company, the Bainimarama Kayum regime has failed completely to establish a sound media policy. People are tired of reading in the Fiji Times that the government, and especially its most important player, Mr. Syed Kayum, the Attorney General, has not responded to a report, has not issued any response to any of the issues that you ask us about, or to comment on an article of public interest. Those refusals reflect how much the government leaders despise the Fiji Times, not only the people, not only the Times, but also the people of Fiji. That's because they cannot rely on it to produce the kind of publicity that the government craves for. The stubborn silence from the ministers creates yet another problem for them. They come across once more as arrogant, aloof, and unaccountable, even ill-informed. And they are denying themselves access to the Fiji Times readers. It's like cutting off your nose to spite your face. It is a fact that every time it publicly rebuts the Fiji Times, the government is refusing to speak to the people. And I predict that that will not change. The Bainimarama Kayum leadership has chosen to place their major statements and comments and advertisements in just one newspaper, the Fiji Sun. That, I suppose, is partly to get back at the Fiji Times. It also raises many other issues. I will not pursue today those issues, including the expenditure of public money for one outlet. We made sure to invite the Fiji Sun to be here today. We will be available to the Sun, as I have been available to the Sun, for comment on issues they bring to my attention. But you can be sure we will watch its coverage carefully. We will act and speak out strongly if we feel its coverage of the People's Alliance is unfair or biased. My advice to the Fiji Times is to maintain its independence. Do not bow to your knees to the dictatorial attitude of this government. Let me share with you another observation. We in the People's Alliance are not naive enough to think that just because we have a positive attitude to the media, that everything will be sweetened and sweet and light and fun. It won't be. There will be friction and there will be disagreement. That's inevitable. But in the end, the important thing is to protect the freedom of the press and the right of the people to be properly informed. Consistent with its need for control and repression, the government enacted some years ago the Media Industry Development Act. It has nothing to do with development and everything to do with threat and intimidation. It's been widely condemned in Fiji and overseas. It describes it as the government's sword of Damocles hanging over the media industry. And you know about that proverbial sword of Damocles. You'll know the act has many offenses, penalties, and infringements, punishments. Prosecution can lead to prison terms and very, very large fines that not many people can afford. There is no place in Fiji for that legislation. A People's Alliance government will scrap the act. It will be consigned to the rubbish heap of history under this government. I gave a commitment also that we will be supportive of moves by the media industry to re-establish an independent media council It will be empowered to investigate and pass judgment or otherwise on complaints about media coverage.